think about it with me for a moment, if you will. Hey, thanks. Almost everywhere we go, almost everywhere that you go, where we spend time on a regular basis, whether that be home or work, travel, recreation, you will find a table. Picnic tables, conference room tables, end tables, lunch tables. I'm hard-pressed to imagine a piece of furniture that comes in more styles and serves more functions. Even our worship experience, our gathering on Sunday mornings, is known as a service of word and table. The table there, of course, being the Lord's table, the communion table. I'm wondering, could there be a link between the tables we experience in the world and this table? Could thinking about common tables deepen our experience and understanding of the communion table? I believe so, and I'm going to invite us over the next few weeks as we launch into this new series, Table Talk, to explore that idea together. Are you with me on that? Good, because that's what we're going to do. But I like your participation. I appreciate that. I've already hinted that there are lots of tables that I've been thinking about. There are many tables that we could lift up. I hope that you'll indulge me, however, as I start with a table from my childhood. Perhaps you've sat around a retro chrome teal table like the one pictured here. This is not my actual kitchen table, but we had this table. I've seen it in yellow. You had a yellow one? Yeah, I've seen it in yellow. Ours was teal. It looked just like that, with the fake leather seats. I could sit under the table. It had a leaf in it that you could open and close. My parents would have had that table in the 70s, but it looks like a 1950s kind of table to me, so I'm going to guess they got that as a hand-me-down from somebody. My first table. Kitchen tables have changed a lot over the years. I don't know if any of you have a teal and chrome table at your place right now, but what has not changed is how they function in our culture. Think about the last time you hosted a party or attended a gathering at someone's home. Here in the United States, regardless of the size of the home, it seems like everyone eventually will gather in the kitchen. Yes? A party at your place, a party that you've been to. If you go to those places, I've been to several dinner parties with the bosses, or baby showers for cousins, birthday celebrations for grandparents. In every scenario, in every situation, there's usually a swarm of activity in the kitchen. Everyone packed in that space, like there's not a whole house that you could spread out in, right? There's not other spaces you could be in. The kitchen becomes the place where everyone gathers. It's the same with us. Every time Catherine and I host any kind of function at our place, we might eventually sit down in the living room. I like to say, let's retire to the living room, right? We might eventually go sit down to watch a movie or play a game or do something else, but much of our time is spent in the kitchen. It just seems that get-togethers wind up there. And now this makes a certain sense to me, as I believe the kitchen's the heart or the hub of a home. And if the kitchen's the heart, I believe the kitchen table is the center of that heart. If you have a kitchen table or have had one, I wonder how you have used it. To support the home team? I thank you for sharing some of your tables with me. I put a call out to folks to show me some of their tables. We're going to see a few of them. Maybe you use your kitchen table to support the home team. For many, the kitchen table serves as a catch-all, literally piled with laundry or papers or a pile of essentials that your child is deciding how to pack when traveling halfway around the world. So that's our kitchen table. Some sit at the kitchen table and do homework or perhaps other projects. Others sit and read the mail or they go over finances. Some play games, others sit and study. Some dream and perhaps just observe the world. Some play. The kitchen table serves many uses. For all of that, though, it's usually comfortable, it's often casual, generally practical. With that said, it's just a piece of furniture. It's what happens around that table that I'm suggesting matters the most. Now, though not featured in any of our images, I believe the primary purpose of the kitchen table is to be a place where we're meant to eat. It's a place where we're meant to gather and share a meal together. And as we do, we might play or learn or share, but again, that primary idea is that this would be the place where we would come for our sustenance. Not just physically, but I want to suggest to you relationally. Around the table is where relationships are often formed, strengthened, repaired. Relationships. I would 100% rather share a bologna sandwich with you at your table than eat filet mignon at the fanciest restaurant by myself. Right? I would rather sit and have a simple meal with you around your table than to dine at the fanciest restaurants by myself. Why? Relationship. Connection. Now, that's not a knock on singleness. Many of us eat alone. Bless you. I have been known just to eat over the kitchen sink. Right? Why mess anything up, right? Especially if your table looks like mine's looking like right now. Not a knock on singleness. We often eat alone. But for many, that's a conscious choice. With that said, if connection, if loving God and loving others is meant to be our purpose, then gathering around a table and eating together provides one of the greatest opportunities to build and strengthen relationship. Thinking about your top 5 favorite meals. Remember, I introduced the idea of top 5 a few weeks ago. Think about your top 5 favorite meals. Top 5 meals that you would lift up as being the best you've ever had. Were you alone eating those meals, or were you with others? I'm going to go out on a limb here and suggest I bet most of us were with other people. If you think about the best meals you've ever had, most of us are likely to identify that we were doing that in the context of community. Maybe coworkers or friends at school or family, a loved one of some sort. I suspect that we were with others because food, eating, is only part of the experience. Again, eating around a table provides an opportunity to connect, to strengthen ties, to repair brokenness, to love and to be loved, to serve and to be served. Eating around a table in this way reminds me then of Jesus, which is why I have us spending a little time today in Luke's gospel, this reading that David shared with us from Luke chapter 10. Jesus is visiting a family that we will learn are among some of his best friends, his closest friends, Mary and Martha, and though not named here, their brother Lazarus. There were preparations certainly that had to be made for the gathering. Water needed to be brought in for washing, bread for hospitality, other foods to be shared to alleviate hunger, and perhaps there was wine there to quench their thirst. At the center, a table where conversation would flow and life would be shared. And friends, I want to suggest to you that's the most important part, the sharing of life together. The rest might be helpful or fun or even to a certain degree necessary, but not more important than. Are you with me? I wonder, have you ever been to a restaurant where the servers were so busy rolling the silverware, they didn't notice you needed a refill? Have you been to that place? They were so busy doing the work of being a server that they forgot to serve you. You know what I'm talking about? I spent many years in a restaurant, and I know I was guilty of that myself. You get caught up in the doing of the work, you forget why you're doing the work. Maybe you've been at a party where there were mounds of appetizers, but no one having any kind of meaningful conversation. There was plenty of stuff, but nobody actually interacting. Have you been to those parties? Or maybe you've just had that experience where you felt alone, even when you were in the midst of a crowd. Martha, you see, in our story, is distracted. She's focused on making and preparing and cleaning and serving. These are all good things, right? The making, the preparing, those are all good things. But Jesus says, Martha, please don't worry about the dirty dishes. I want to spend time with you. Are you the kind of host that when you have people over and dinner's done, you immediately have to go to the kitchen and start cleaning up? I want to suggest to you that maybe, stretch yourself the next time you have folks over, leave the dirty dishes. They will still be dirty after everybody leaves. What you'll miss, though, is the opportunity to connect with people in that moment. Now, if they're good friends, they'll come in the kitchen with you and say, let's help do these dishes together and all that kind of stuff, right? But if they don't do that, spend time with folks. That's why we're getting together in the first place. Yes? Jesus says, Martha, don't worry about the work. I want to spend time with you. I want to be with you. Martha wants to show her love for Jesus. And he reminds her the best way to do that is to be with him. She's thinking, if I make it all right, if I get it all right, if I have the right food out, or if I have the dishes clean, if it's all organized, that's going to be my way of expressing my love for Jesus. Jesus says, what I want is you. What I need is you. Again, these are good things. Cleaning and serving, cooking, and all the stuff, the preparations, that's all good. So for the Marthas among us, there's some Marthas out there. Tasty snacks and clean silverware are important. But the most important is connecting with Jesus. The most important is connecting with those we're trying to serve. Mary, for her part, and if you're a Martha, don't you just hate Mary? Right? She's probably your younger sister or something, every time you have a family gathering, this is the one that's flitting around and everybody loves, and you're just like, oh, you're doing all the work. But part of why this story endures is it's so real, right? We can see ourselves in these characters. Mary has decided it does not matter that there's stuff covering the kitchen floor. She's not worried about scrubbing the counter or mopping the kitchen. She doesn't turn Jesus away from visiting because the kids' backpacks and shoes have created an obstacle course. You see, when we encounter Mary, she's not polishing the silver or breaking out the fine china. She's decided that even the biggest occasion, spending time with Jesus, does not require anything fancy at all. It just requires being present, being with Jesus. And being with Jesus should not have to be a production. No need to fancy it all up. Though Jesus deserves the grandest, the greatest, the most elaborate, Jesus does not ask for it or require it. Can you hear this, friends? The King of all creation, the ruler of the cosmos, the greatest and grandest, the biggest, the most important. There is no one greater, right? The one who deserves everything we could possibly pour out and do and write all of the fancy, does not ask for it or require it. In fact, if we pursue trying to impress Jesus, we risk missing being with Jesus. Mary gets it. Jesus can be encountered through ordinary means, through an ordinary life in the everyday. I struggle today, this is the Super Bowl Sunday, and I told you all last week, wear your Chiefs gear, and as I even put out a post, wear the red stuff, and Jesus is okay, the Lord does not look, disfavorably upon our Chiefs stuff. But I got to tell you, friends, when I was getting ready this morning, I struggle a little bit getting ready, putting on a Chiefs jersey to come to church. Why is that? Right? Most of you don't have a problem at all. Look at yourselves. Right? Because there's a certain bit of this that carries over even to our present day that says, you don't just show up wearing your sweats to church. Right? You don't show up in your Chiefs jersey to church. This is more important than that. Right? God is meant to be honored in a certain way, and that means you put on a jacket, a tie. If you're wearing sweats today, or a sweatshirt, or a hoodie, you are not going to spend eternity in hell, I'm pretty sure. But I got to tell you, when I got up this morning to put on, I asked Catherine, I told them all to wear their stuff. I don't know if I can wear my stuff. Should I wear my stuff? Yeah, wear your stuff. I don't know. Here's the thing, friends. We can get caught up in what we're wearing. Listen to me. We can get caught up in what we're wearing and forget who we're supposed to be honoring. We can forget who we're supposed to be spending time with. We can forget the whole point of this is a relationship with Jesus. And Jesus does not care what we wear. I'm pretty sure. This story is the story that I'm going to draw on time and time again that says, just show up. That's what Jesus is asking for. Just be with me, Jesus says. Don't worry about all the other stuff. Come and be with me. So it shouldn't have to be a production. Don't have to fancy it up. Just sit with Jesus. Share your life with Christ. That's what Mary wants, right? She wants to be with Jesus, present, relating in the moment, laughing and learning and gracing each other. Friends, that's what we can do around kitchen tables. That's what happens when we spend time around kitchen tables. Now, many of us, myself included, don't eat all of our meals around kitchen tables. We're just now kind of coming out of that phase. Well, we've been at it for a little while, but now it seems like other things intrude. Where it's easy to run through a drive-through, eat in the car on your way from one thing to another thing. We did that a lot with our kids. And maybe you're still in that place. Maybe it's just you grab a quick something on the way, but you don't ever have the time to sit down with others around a table and share a meal. And what we miss is what happens around the table. What we miss is the opportunity to connect, to laugh, and to learn, and to grace each other. To be present for and with each other, to encounter Jesus in our midst. Tell me about your day. Where have you been? Who did you meet? What are you worried about? How can I help? These are the kinds of questions, and these are the invitations to be together you hear around a kitchen table. You don't often get that when you pull up to the drive-through speaker, grab the fries, throw them in the back, and take off. Right? Now, there are times when we do that, and again, I'm not saying if that's where you're at in life that you're going to hell. Right? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that if we have an opportunity to sit down around a table, let's take that opportunity. And if there's a way for us to change our patterns Right? These are choices we're making. If we can make that choice, let's find ourselves sitting around tables more often. Yes? Between bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts, and please pass the potatoes, life happens at the kitchen table. Jesus is life. Everyday, ordinary life can be present at our table. Not just for some, but for all. A pastor friend of mine gathering for worship today, I saw on his social media feed that he was standing in his Chiefs gear. He has a jersey like mine. He was standing next to somebody who probably needs an intervention. I'm not really certain, but they were wearing a Phillies jersey. I mean, yeah, what's going on with that? And his caption said, "A community of unlikely friends." Isn't that a great description for who we are? A community of unlikely friends. At the table of the Lord, you've got religious zealots and you've got Roman sympathizers, right? You've got all kinds of folks coming to sit around with Jesus. We are invited to be the same kind of community. So when I say that Jesus is life, everyday, ordinary life, not just for some, but for all, I really do mean all. I really do mean people that are different than us, who think different than us. Maybe even, and I'm going to go on a limb here, people who support the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, maybe not them, but everybody else. So what if we came to communion with that understanding, everybody's welcome here, don't have to be a member, don't have to believe everything we believe, right? You've heard me say that every week. What if we thought of our kitchen tables the same way? That everybody would find a welcome there. That we would live in the world in such a way that everyone would be welcome at our table. I know I've been stretching you on this. I know that I've had some feedback from you. Some of you right now, we're in the midst of some political turmoil, and some of you are really concerned, very concerned. Maybe we're all very concerned. I don't know. And some of you, when I say all, I mean people on the other side of the political aisle than you. And I know for some of you, you're going to say, no, not them. To sit and eat with them would be to, in some way, support their ideas, or it might be perceived as accepting of their philosophy. All I can suggest to you is, it's what Jesus did. It's how Jesus did it. Do you think that all the people that sat around Jesus' table he agreed with? I don't know that he agreed with any of them. But he knew that by sitting together, they could build relationship, they could make connection, that by sharing their life together, there was a greater chance, a greater possibility of transformation than fighting or arguing or distancing ourselves from one another. Can you hear me in this, friends? Is it hard and difficult? I guarantee that it is. Do I do it all the time? I do not. But friends, that's the goal. That's the aspiration. That's what we're called to. That is the invitation to make this world a different place. I can stand up and yell and scream about how much I dislike what's going on in the world. Or I could say, let's come sit down around a table. And when it's our kitchen table, there's an intimacy there, isn't there? There's an openness there that doesn't make it easy, but I do believe it makes loving possible. So what if we intended to simply share life over a simple meal? Maybe a little bread to start, maybe a little wine, unfermented for us, to conclude with a blessing. What if we just wanted to spend a little time with Jesus catching up? We could eat and laugh and pray and cry, and we could do it all like we do every other day. We could find there is a sacredness to the ordinary. We all need to eat and drink, right? That transcends political philosophies or economic situations. That has nothing to do with your educational attainment, your job status. We all need to eat and drink. We all need to love and to be loved. We all need to be known and to find acceptance. We all need rest and renewal. And Jesus invites us to his table where we can do it all with him so that when we're out in the world, we get to practice here what we can live out every single day. Which is my invitation through this series, that maybe we could expand our idea of the kitchen table to the larger world. That there could be a link between communion and our kitchen, and that might be present everywhere. How could we enjoy communion in everyday life? How might we join others around a table? Have we done the dinner for 8 things here? Have we done something like that where we get groups of people together to share meals together? We've done that here? Yes and no. It's been a long time. It's been a long time, a long, lonely time. It's a little Led Zeppelin for you out there. Well, maybe, friends, maybe it's time to resurrect dinner for 8 or dinner for 6 or dinner for whatever makes sense in your situation, where we'd get some folks together who don't always act or think like us. Can you hear me in this? This is what we tend to do. We tend to hang out with our buddies, our friends, the people that are most like us. What if we said, you know what, I don't know this couple that I've been seeing at church. I'm going to invite them to be part of this group with me. I've been talking about table groups. I'm going to talk more about that later, but what if we took that idea of eating together and we actually expanded that to say, what would it look like if we had these regular touch points where the table was the center, but we didn't do it just once in a while for recreational purposes, but we did it because we wanted to do life together. We wanted to live our life together. That we would begin to form relationships so that when the wheels fall off of your life, these are the people you contact. These are the people you reach out to. What would it look like if when you have a great celebration, these would be the first people you would call up or reach out to? That's the kind of group I'm talking about. Friends, I think some of you have experienced that in your time here at Country Club, but I know many of us don't have that. I'm not sure all of us want that. But I'm going to suggest it might be the step for some of us to put this into practice. We wouldn't just show up on a Sunday morning and sing some songs and get a little snack and go home and feel good as we cheer on the Chiefs. But we might say, I'm here because I'm practicing what I could be doing out in the world. Living differently. Maybe you're going to meet a student for lunch. Do they still let you do that? Can you still go to these schools and embarrass some student over lunch? Can you do that? Maybe. You know what? Here's what I would love to have happen. I would love for some adopted grandparent to show up at Grayson's school and say, I'm here to eat lunch with Grayson. And you know he'll be mortified. But you're going to get to spend some time with him, and I assume this can happen. And you're going to hear what is important to his world and what's important in his life and what he's struggling with and what he's celebrating. And you see how that can make a connection? You can see how that might strengthen relationship, that he's not just a kid who shows up occasionally and lights the candles for us. Can you hear me? Some of you have hosted dinner parties. I was able to attend a dinner party several months ago. It was wonderful, lovely. We just need more dinner parties. We just need to do more of that. Get together, hang out, do life together. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? It's coming into the time of year, right now it's ridiculous, but there's coming in a time of the year where it's going to be cool in the evening, but not cold. The perfect time for a fire pit. Yeah? Invite me over. We'll have some s'mores. Yeah? I really don't like s'mores, but they're great around a fire pit. It's so much fun. Yeah? And maybe, just maybe, we personally, with our own network, our own families, our own friend group, maybe we could admit that we need more of this. And so this week we're going to practice sharing at least one meal. Maybe for the next several weeks, we're going to find a day, one day out of the week to gather and eat a meal around a kitchen table. Could you commit to that? I see 2 people up here are going to be willing to commit to that. That's great. That's 2 that didn't do it before. Think about it. Let's pray about it. God, whatever we do, don't let us get caught up in the preparations and the production. Let us enjoy the meal and the time spent sharing it with one another. Would you help us to treat those around the table as you treat us? You welcome us in with our differences, with our failings, our flaws, because you love us. And you know that that time gathered around a table can be the time where that love is expressed and experienced. I feel, God, that we live in a day that could use more togetherness, more unity, more grace, more forgiveness. You show us the way around the table. Let us live as you have taught. In the name of Christ I pray. Amen.